30 seconds. Kennedy, your phone is open.
Yeah, we got people in, so it's active.
It's up and running? Ready to go? Donna, you can hear us?
Yes, yes,
All
I
right.
can hear you. Hi, everyone.
I'd like to call the work action meeting of the Bogota Board of Education for Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. Please stand for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. The New Jersey Open Publics Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Bogota Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Bogota Borough Hall, communicated by letter to the record, filed with the clerk of the Bogota, of the Borough of Bogota, and posted on the Bogota Board of Education website, Irfan.
Mr. Alcalde
Present.
and Mrs. Alvarez,
Present,
Mr. Alvarez,
Present.
Mr. Chavez,
Present.
Mrs. Cruz,
Present.
Mr. Navarro,
Present.
Mrs. Olivo, absent, Mrs. Brockett, absent, Mr. Miranda,
Sente.
and we have the quorum.
For the record, Mrs. Olivo isn't feeling well and Mrs. Ruckett has some personal matters. Also present is Superintendent Damian Kennedy, Board Attorney Thomas Coben, Business Administrator and Board Secretary Irfan Efsil, and our lovely Elizabeth Ruiz, Board Secretary. There's no student representative tonight. I'd like to open the floor hearing on citizens on agenda items only. Do I have a motion to move? Alvarez, do I have a second?
Second.
Chavez, any board discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Any member, please come up, state your name, and you have 5 minutes. Is there any member raising their hand online?
No.
I have a motion to move hearing of the public.
Motion.
That's a Chavez. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alcalde, any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to 10. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a big jump. Almost finished.
About to end it.
Moving on to our superintendent's report, Mr. Kennedy. Thank you, Mr.
Frank, can you do me a favor and get Ally for me in a second? But first, this week, we are celebrating our week of respect in all schools in the district, along with all schools across New Jersey. This is where we focus on promoting respect, kindness, and preventing bullying through fun activities and presentations. Also, we had great turnouts for our back to school night, so kudos to all our parents to getting here, which was a great turnout in all 4 buildings. Also, CTE building is moving along with the anticipated opening in September of 2025. We're looking forward to having automotive, culinary, healthcare, building trades, and technologies as new pathways for our students in future years. Next week, we will have our NJSLA testing presentation and then go over our district goals. And then I asked Ally to be out here right now because we wanted to recognize her and her team. Action for Healthy Kids and USDA's Food and Nutritional Service announced that 39 school districts have received 53 Healthy Meal Incentive Recognitions Awards this August for trailblazing and innovating work in improving the nutritional quality of our school meals. One of 39 schools was Bogota's cafeteria team.
Great job.
Our school food service provider, Pomptonian, specifically won an award for innovation and preparation of school meals award. Specific healthy meal options, recipe photos, and menus were submitted to the USDA for review as part of the award. Meals that were submitted were the homemade beef lasagna, honey nut squash soup, and local cranberry sauce. So we just really want to recognize Ally and the Pomptonian team and say congratulations and thank you for providing healthy and tasty meals.
Thank you, Ally.
Thank you.
And I won't take too much thunder on this because I'm sure we're gonna have someone want to speak about it, but I did want to recognize the groundbreaking ceremony was a success. And as a person working in district specifically at the high school and going to those fields for the last 15 years, I'm very excited about the opportunity to have these new state-of-the-art fields. What is more exciting for me is that when you come over that Hackensack River, is literally going to be the first thing you see that you cannot, it's going to be for everyone to see in plain sight. So along with that, I did also want to recognize Mr. Miranda in this project because when he became the board president, he called me up, and one of the first things I remember clearly to this day, one of many phone calls, he said to me, "What do we have to do to get Bogota new fields?" And he said, "You tell me what we have to do, and we are going to work to get that done." And to see this all in action is truly inspiring, and to see the community, just people down there, when I go down there to check on them, there's people looking every day to see what's going on there. So this is truly going to be a great thing for our community, and I do believe that you were and still are a major driving force in getting this done. So kudos to you as well and everyone here for helping with that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. I appreciate that. I do. For me, the ceremony was sensitive. I mean, I'm glad I didn't shed any tears as you speak. It hits me, right? Because I had some time ago, I was on the council and I was trying to push for a rec center. As my speech said in the groundbreaking ceremony, that coming from being a city boy in a impoverished town, city, part of the town, you know, section part of the city, and all the trouble I got into, thing that got me out of trouble was boxing at a Boys and Girls Club and baseball. And we didn't have gloves and we didn't have things. We just kind of got it all donated. And I was a phenomenal fighter. And I was taught by the people. And then you often become a fighter, then you get yourself in trouble because you're good at that. But just the community kind of works with you and teaches you, and there's things that come out of being part of a place that you can go to, and you know, you'd be amazed how many people have insurance and can't find counselors in today's insurance environment. Who I speak to, many people who have a broad insurance platform, they could barely find a neurologist. There's like 5 neurologists on an Obama plan in the whole state of New Jersey that'll take one plan. And then there's like limited psychiatrists and psychologists for your kids, limited, real limited, to the point that it's now an app. So when you think about that, you often realize you need a community to support you when some of those kids cannot obtain those services. I don't care what people say, but if you talk to people as much as I do, and I ask a lot of questions to learn, because when I get up here and I'm anywhere in my life, anything I say, as I often say, it comes from experience, not what I know, but what I've heard and what I've actually seen with my own eyes. To that point, my niece, her mom works in the city and has a really amazing job, pay-wise, and has 32 BJ, and she can't track down a child psychiatrist. So there's, you know, so what we've done as a family is put our niece into volleyball, into programs to keep her going and busy, and it's working out because kids today are struggling. I don't, you know, they're coming out of COVID and we're applauding, but they're struggling. So these things are necessary for our children. And to think that Bogota didn't have a home that was decent enough for them, because when I got here, I'll never forget this. I coached the day I got here. My son was 1.5 years old. I tried to get involved. By the time he was 2.5, 3, I started getting like the whole T-ball conversation. And when I walked into what I was expecting a rec center, you know, like pool tables and ping pong tables and Chinese pool, and I got in and I was like, is this a rec? Is this what you call a rec center? I could not understand, I could not fathom, I could not swallow what we had for what they called the rec center. I mean, have you looked at our rec center? please go visit it. It's just a building with 4 walls and 1 divided kitchen that is underused. So it was more for parties, if anything. But they didn't have anything. So to see this and to motivate the mayor and the council to go push it forward, you know, I was trying to get a rec center and it didn't happen because of differences in politics and elections, and people lose and people win. And at the end, everything gets in the back burner and different agendas. So, you know, a lot of people want to get into politics with no understanding of the history of Bogota, but ooh, good luck. I was in it, so I know it. And I was in it and I was a driving force, and I still am a driving force, but this is not about me. It's simply about how is it possible that we don't have just the near basics in an era today. And you know what? I often go back and forth with logical conversations and thinking and fight backs on Facebook with people. But I do realize, I do totally understand where people come from when they say, in this modern era, there are certain basic needs. Because the truth is, what appealed to us didn't appeal to the future. And that's just progression, that's evolution. So today, people have a different expectation, primarily because the tax base is different and people really, you know, I want to start giving, one of the things, Kennedy, that I really want to drive here is if there's a way that we can get some sort of stipend to teach people what the tax base looks like and where the pie breaks up and divides, because people truly don't know. And I don't care how much professional they are. They don't know how it divvies up. They don't know where the increases come from. They don't know how to look at a document and say, oh, the Board of Ed hasn't done a tax increase for 4 years out of 5. And we've been up here, I've been 6, I think, right now. So they don't know that. And if they did, they will focus, because they also don't know that we're like 60 some odd percent of the tax base in Bogota, maybe like 64. I have to break it up, but that's about average, right? What it is in normal towns. So it's in the 60s, early 60s. But to that point, if you knew what the tax base is and where the majority of it comes from, you would have an entire hallway of people asking questions and giving us the need to stay here longer. So when you see all of that and they comprise all together, you put it all together, the fields are born. And I'm so happy because it is not about me. The mere way that it happened was you get people, I mean, this was a conversation, guys. Politics usually is a conversation. I'm with Jose, and Jose meets me on the field and he asks me a question and boom, Jose gets involved. And then I'm with Susan and we're hanging out with Susan on the youth academy, because people often forget who were the real parents behind these programs, right? Because that's where I met them. They let me in. I didn't have a kid in the youth academy, but they let me in. They spoke to me. They told me their needs. Boom, Susan's here. BC's here. Idalia's here. I could go on, right? And then you meet a hot rod realtor. Oh, those are my opinion. I'm sorry. But you meet a realtor in town that talks about moving things forward, doesn't have a child, but has more passion than most board people about, I grew up here. This has been the same. This has got to change. And he was born, right? Rob Alvarez. So when you put all of that together, that's what it was, a community of people who came together, didn't talk about political agendas or if you're a red party, if you're a blue party, if you're non-party. That wasn't the discussion. What are we going to do? Because I often told a lot of them, if you're going to complain, then get in it, get in the game. And that's what they did. And I had left for a little while and they pulled me back in and said, well, you told us to get involved, so get in it too. So we get in it and this was born. And then it doesn't take away from an administration who also, because they can push back. But when they have the same vision, the same processes and everything, and they have the same thought, then this comes to life. But no more than that. I thank you, Kennedy. It takes a whole team, right, Dada? It takes everybody. It just takes a lot of talking, a lot of discussion. I do want to thank Pomtonian and Ali, because I have never seen this before, and I could just be off, right? I don't know everything, and I know nothing actually, but I noticed that when we have these like ceremonial events, they show up. And whether it's cupcakes and coffee and juices, I have never seen that. But that, I want to tell the board that that's basically their gratitude about who we are and what we're doing. People don't support you if they didn't think you were doing a darn good job. And when people come out like that, a supervisor who got involved, one of the first things we complained about, if you all remember, was that the kids and the parents would say the food sucked. That's not a conversation anymore. Why? Because someone like Ali, who I met later on, got involved, became a supervisor, or maybe she was here, I don't know, but whatever she did, we're extremely supportive of the organizations that serve us, and then this is born, better food. I mean, we have multicultural, they're eating all types of multicultural food. I heard about mango the other day, I'm ecstatic, you know, you all know me, I love it. So, just a lot of great things happening. The ceremony was beautiful. And I hope that I delivered what I was trying to deliver, which really give credit to the people who really did the job to get that done. And because you just can't forget those people because I couldn't have done it. And to give credit that even through adversaries and difference of opinion, there was a common goal. And I thank the DEP on record. I'll thank the DEP in Green Acres again. Annette Loveless and, oh man, I forgot the other name.
Nancy Lawrence.
Nancy Lawrence. I mean, you gotta understand, they come with a hammer, right? It's like the gavel. These are the rules, these are this, and then you talk about what we have. And then you talk about what we don't have. And immediately the balance is weighed over and they're like, we get it. We get it. And one of the loveliest things they said is, we just never see that a town and a board of ed is actually working together. And that didn't happen, right? I gotta tell you guys, there's some people down there that might have thought I was a different kind of person at the time. And then I reached over and we shake hands. And today they agree that I was never the person they perceptionally thought, because everybody wears either a Democrat or independent or Republican stuff, right? So when you do that, so look, Pagoda's coming to life. I'm gonna reiterate it again. The night before, I went to the council meeting on my own to make sure that I invited them. And also as a resident, to make sure that Bogota doesn't look like a gangster neighborhood. There's things that have to look clear and clean. Because one of the things that I said verbally, and they can hold me as accountable, that I want to be in a more affluent town. That I want an affluent town. I want more people to see us from a different images, because I tell you, wherever I traveled in Bogota, before they didn't know where the hell I lived. And excuse my language, but they didn't know. Bogota what? Bogota where? And today that's not the case. You hear a lot of great things. How did you do that in Bogota? I've had teenage people write chapters on the bus in Atlantic City. Bogota, how did you do it? How did you get the referendum? I didn't do it. It was the residents, right? But how did you do it? You guys were like not even a thought. So it's amazing where we're at in Bogota. And I think Rob Alvarez can attest to the property values, right? And everything that's happening. So I just really, really thank you guys. I really thank the Bogota residents. I hope we finish these tasks and I can go home. But I'll tell you, man, I truly appreciate the guys involved and the residents of Bogota and our staff. And to Calero, most people don't know, we're gonna have cameras all over the parks. That's not something everybody has. And Calero sat there and talked about fiber optics. I've learned more about different things in the last year that we're gonna have things that the richer towns don't have. So it's good to see that. And I just want to make, Trina's not here, but Trina asked me and Sandra Spina, they're probably here to laugh because I'm throwing them on the bus. If we should consider some air fryers in our snack stuff, because there's towns that now you get involved and you can fry some food and sell like chicken fingers. So let's talk about that, because that's not something I thought about, but I'm hoping we have that kind of kitchen setup. All right, because I think we're gonna drive it. For me, I'm a businessman, so forgive me, it's not always rainbows and butterflies for me. All I'm wondering is, how is the Bogota Board of Ed gonna make some money when those fields are rented to other people? That's what I think about. I know our kids will benefit. It's all about what do we do to host events so that people can make some money, the high school team or just the kids can allocate those funds and use it for their own well-being and use it for their own like graduation, and because there's ways to profit, and I don't want to call it profit. I don't know if I'm within the means of that, but it's a way to generate funds for our kids to thrive, right? And teach them what it is to earn money. And I think that this is going to be a major outlet for Bogota and the children of Bogota. All right, so that's the end of me. But thank you, I really do. Thank you. I'm moving on to 4.1, approving September 17th regular open meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to move forward? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Item
so,
9 now, we've got.
is there any discussion?
No.
Under section 8, there's no, under section 5.1, no policy. Under section 6.14, any questions? 7.10, any questions? 8.12, any questions? Or discussion? 9.1, okay, this is an approval item. This is our Moscow lighting? Okay, Moscow lighting. So moving on to resolution 9.1, buildings and grounds section, which is for the approval of contract with Moscow Sporting Lighting. Yes, we're getting lighting. Is there a motion to move 9.1?
Motion.
Chavez, is there a second?
Second.
Alcalde, any discussion? Roll call, Irfan.
Mr. Alcalde,
Yes.
Mrs. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Chavez,
Yeah.
Mrs. Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. Navarro,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to 10.1, committee reports. Does anyone have any committee reports? 11.1, old business. Do we have any old business? So real quick, Kennedy, one of the things I would like to propose to the board. So we have a STEPS program, and we haven't never really inaugurated the program or showcased it to our community, which is the 18 to 21 program. We had a death in town of someone who went to Bogota schooling system and was taught by his community, Dr. Fitzgerald, I think you all remember, our chairman of the planning and zoning, Corrado, and a few others. And he learned to live life and then, unfortunately passed, got ill. Vinny. And I think that if there's a better example of and Rob might not like this, but of a true Yankee fan who learned how to wash his clothes and live his life. I think, which is my opinion, that we should maybe give him a placard and rename the STEPS program after him, because he was a special needs individual who grew up in Bogota, stayed in Bogota until he could no longer keep up. But I'll never forget my conversations with him and everybody, because he had the same conversation with everybody. He can give you more stats about the Yankees than anyone can. And he loved Judge. He was infatuated with Judge. And before that, it was Jeter. And before that, I keep going, the Bernie Williams. He was always loving the Yankees. But I'll tell you what he was. He'd always told you, I learned how to wash my clothes. And he would explain to you his process and how he cooked and how he did this. So it was a beautiful thing, right?
And
And
what he
you
was gonna
would have
walk.
to sit there and listen to him. At some point, say, Vinny, I gotta go, Vinny. But I just thought, if there's a way that we could give it a small name or something, what do you think, Kennedy? I mean, we can discuss it as a board, but it's often, I see people that donate one time to a placard and a thing, and everybody's asking where the placard when it falls down. Some of it doesn't even have names. Actually, my grandmother taught me, give me flowers when I'm alive, not when I'm dead. So I often want to do that for people, but in this case, he's passed. And interesting enough, when we did the STEPS program, I had still said, man, we should name that after Vinny, now that I've learned. So if you guys can consider that, talk about it, discuss it. There's one more thing that I want to bring up. Probably should have been a new business. So Mr. Kennedy fights me on this idea that I have. And I kind of told him it really wasn't his decision. But Mr. Kennedy, I don't know if you know his history in Bogota and how much he means with kids and how much they love him and how he can tell any principal here or any, I've been there, done that, right? Because he was a principal, then he was out there in the games. The guy doesn't go home. I often have to tell him to go home, and he's just so. When I first met him, I thought he was from Bogota, was raised in Bogota, and lived in Bogota. He might as well have matched all those checks. But I want us to think about what are we going to call Damian Kennedy at those fields, because I don't care what he's saying no, and I don't really care what he says. but we named Feigo Field, we named all this stuff. Please tell me, where's your memory, right? So yes, memory goes on, and then there's new memories. So what happens to the new? Are we gonna wait till Damian Kennedy passes away 50 years from now to name something that he could have seen, enjoyed, and given them his heart and soul? He gave it. I know because I talked to him at 11 o'clock at night. I know because he called me back at 11:45 the other day to talk about picking colors. I know because he's on top of me every single day about picking. I'm sorry. I'm not, listen, I'm short-lived in this board. I'm sitting here saying it should be our duty. It should be the right thing. I wish everybody was here for us to discuss it. Something is gotta be called Kennedy. The Kennedy snack stand, the Kennedy building, the Kennedy something, you know?
Give me the air fryer.
Okay. But I wanna put this to the board.
About Kennedy
I
Field.
fully intend to continue to push Kennedy something. I thought we can still keep Feigo Field and call it the Kennedy. The entrance, as you know, is gonna have an arch. The pole, the scorekeeping,
That sounds good, actually. The Kennedy Feigo Field.
something. I want to it's just my personal it's I have no say here. It takes a whole board.
We all have to
Me,
discuss.
Like, if and if I have to sell you, I'll sell you, right? That's my job in life. The guy went with me to every PTO meeting, every event, and we did it, two of us. You know, and we know that if you called him Miranda, you know, Bogota goes that on, I'm joking. But it's him, he put the work in, and
What about
and
What about one of the field goal posts and the Kennedy three-pointer?
yeah, something, I want
His,
something, something.
Famous
graduate.
point shot.
That would be cool.
He puts a lot of hours here, guys, when you miss, you know, we're the elected officials, right? And we often say we miss things and we do this, but Kennedy misses, I fight with him. You know, your daughter's here, your son is here, he would rather be at a football game and then run to pick up his kids at 7 o'clock at night. That's not, he sits there, he's dismissed at something, and there's not enough money in your life to pass you by for your children and your wife. There's not enough money. And I can't give them all the money in the world because this is public sector. But what I do recommend is a piece of this life that we call Pagoda.
Frank, I want to say that I agree with you, and I think Mr. Kennedy should get something. And I'll be honest, I didn't have much to do with this because I wasn't on the board when this passed. The only thing I had to do was I was a voter and I voted for it. But the level of commitment, and I know the whole board worked on it, but what you have done, Frank, and you know, you and I don't always agree politically, social, on a lot of stuff we don't agree, but I have to always admire your dedication to getting this done. And I do think we should name something after Kennedy, but I also think, honestly, we shouldn't have a Miranda snack stand or something like that, because what you did was get all of this done, and the amount of work that you've put into this is above and beyond what any elected official's calling is. I'm really sorry I missed the ceremony. I wasn't gonna take photos with everyone anyway, because I don't want to take credit for something I didn't do, but I did want to be there to support everyone. Because honestly, what you have done in this town, like I said, Frank, I know we disagree sometimes and we argue about stuff, but I have worked with politicians before in other states and other things, and when you say you're gonna get something done, you really do your best to get it done. And I think what you have accomplished with this field and with this referendum is something that should be commemorated, like I said. So it should be Kennedy, but I also think something should be named after you because of all the work you put in for this.
Thank you, but we'll talk about Kennedy.
Let's get all the projects done first before we start naming things after people.
Yeah, but.
But you're gonna be on,
I'm
I'm just telling you.
Keep that in mind. I actually, it's funny you bring that up. I was thinking that we need to come up with a paver sector, like an entry paver sector, where every elected official can pay for their paver, branded paver. Because I think that that's a beautiful thing. Money goes back to a purpose of the children to buy stuff. So keep that in mind. I don't care about me. Keep that in mind. But Kennedy has served in this building and has helped a lot of kids at this building in the whole district. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. I wanted to bring that up. It's one of the things that I always had, and I didn't want to forget it. And then things happen and forget it. So keep it on record, guys. All right. That's the end for old business, I believe. Right? New business, 12:01. I think that was part of it. 13-1, I want to open the floor to hearing of the public once again. Do I have a motion to approve hearing of the public?
Motion.
Motion, Idalia Alvarez. Do I have a second?
I'll sec-
Alvarez, Mr. Robert Alvarez. That's a good one.
Double
Duo,
Alvarez.
Double Alvarez. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any member want to address any topic with the board? You have 5 minutes. Please just state your name.
Mrs. Harper?
Thank
Mrs.
you
Harper?
so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm coming before you for a couple of different matters. So while everybody's congratulating yourself, which, you know, it's a big project. The project was supposed to be an improvement project, not an entire reconstruction project. But putting that aside, you know, there are residents that live here. And at 6:30 in the morning, you know, these bulldozers start moving. We have so much dust, you know, that's coming our way. When it's windy, there's dust coming our way. We can't open up our windows. We haven't been able to open up our windows for months. I'm not the only one. Other residents tell me that too. We are concerned about issues of putting cameras everywhere. Do you want cameras on your house? Well, maybe we can arrange for that too. So I think you need to be thinking about that with respect to this next planning phase before it goes in on cameras and lighting and how that impacts our homes. Because this has really impacted us, this construction. If you think that it hasn't, it has. When people are trying to sleep, when you're sick, when you're trying to work, while everybody goes up the hill, you know, there are people down the hill that are sitting here and dealing with this on a daily basis. So that's one thing I wanted to raise. The other thing I wanted to raise was not related to this, but related to football. As some of you know that my son does play football. Unfortunately, he did have an accident and an injury. But one thing I noticed is that kids nowadays during practice, they wear those paddings on their helmets. And now some professional football players are also wearing that too. I would like this town to consider having our students wearing that sort of padding during the games. You know, just coming back and watching the games again now, I see that almost every single game, there is some kid who's getting hurt. Not just the wrist like my son has, where he broke his wrist, but kids who are, of course, getting concussions over and over again. And since there is something that may reduce that impact and may mitigate any potential future brain injuries, I think that we as a town have a duty to look into this and seriously consider adopting something like this on the football helmets. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is something I know Coach Appleton has spoken about, and it's something that is in talks already. So I don't know how fast something will move on that, but that is something that has been discussed about the future.
Mr. Kennedy, I'm sorry. I didn't get to hear your remarks because I was on a work related call beforehand. But I'm not sure if you had an opportunity also to let us know when this construction would be completed. Thank you.
So what I was speaking on was to Coach Apps about this option for our student athletes playing football. So it is something that we are looking into. So that is something that we'll have further discussions about because we do see the benefits of it. And then
on the cameras, the cameras are going to be focal points to where children are going to be and not your backyards. That's actually been thoroughly studied. It's more within where they can hang out and they're not visible to the public. A lot of, some other towns have them too, right? So if you looked at the project, you can almost pinpoint them. They're going to be in areas that are going to keep the kids safe, right? Because that's all that's where you finish your statement with how we're going to keep these children safe. The next thing is the lighting. As you know, we just voted for Musco lighting. I thought it was Musco lighting. And those lights has been it's going to be reiterated now, but it has been reiterated many, many, many meetings. is that those lights are also focal generated LED, where they're no longer widespread everywhere, like the halogen lights of the past. They're very on the field. And as far as the dust, you know what? You're right. I have heard that. I have heard it from other residents. A little twist to it, residents say, we love it, we know it, it's dusty. It's dusty, we can't open our windows, but you know what? We want to see those parks, Frank. And they live right at the bottom of the project. I mean, I had a few attend the ceremony and say, how amazing it is for them to see the progress. They also said they actually knew more about the project than you can imagine about the piping sizes, because our contractors are communicating with the community. As they come ask, they tell them. We were expanding on the pipes from 16, 12 to 18 inches. We've added more pipes. We're bringing a wall. Has anyone driven over the bridge and actually looked down? There's a wall. There's a brick, not a brick, a retaining wall with an entire drainage system in the back. Guys, it's awesome. So you got to look at that. And I would say though that I urged the construction company to please do everything as best as they can and to hurry up without telling them to hurry up. Because as you all know, and Mrs. Harper, you know very well, that there was a bald eagle in question. There was environmental situations in question that will limit our time frame. You also know, because you've asked the question in the past, when this project will conclude, and we've told you that it's either January 1, and depending how fast we can finish, we may or may not have to start back in August 1. So that means that we can go a whole 8 months without touching the ground again. It all depends on how much of the turnover of the project is completed and whether we're just putting down mats and stuff like that. So this will be like the 5th time, but we don't know the estimate. I can say though, with a lot of certainty, that behind your house, which I think is where you're probably most, and you often broaden it, but behind your house, they said we should finish by mid-November and start seeding, right? By end?
Laying the sod down.
Laying the sod by mid-November to end of November, the back of your house. And I don't know, have we already cleaned up all the brush and all the fences right behind Susan's house? Have we cleaned that up? Okay, because one of the things we went to that wasn't part of the project was that there's been many, many years of overgrowth, greenery, like weeds, really ugly, long. People haven't cleaned the fence. When we were down there, myself, the administrator, Kennedy, and everything else, we basically said, look, can we ask the DPW, or we're going to contribute and we're going to clean that up? Because what sense is it to have a beautiful park with beautiful things and all the fences are just covered in garbage, so in grass, and not a grass, but the weeds you don't want, right? So we're gonna clean that up, Mrs. Harper. I hope that helps, where your view to the park. But that was all, right? That's about right.
I just want to add real quick that as someone who, worked with law enforcement for 16 years, I was a prosecutor. I think cameras are absolutely a deterrent to crime. Every police officer will tell you that. Every person involved in law enforcement will tell you that when you have cameras in a location, obviously crimes are going to go down. And I think it's the best way to protect our kids. And as far as the homes are concerned, I don't think they're facing the homes. But even with that, I mean, everyone's got a Ring camera. So technically there's cameras everywhere anyway. But I think that the cameras are really important.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And I agree too, that cameras are a deterrent. But, I don't think that there should be an assumption necessarily regarding cameras in homes. And quite frankly, I don't want a camera on my home. And if there are cameras facing my home, of course, then, we'll get to that at some point in time. But I'm sure you would not want a camera facing on your home and having police looking at your home or whoever's looking at your home, because at some point in time, you guys will all turn over, okay, as elected officials. Maybe not Mr. Kennedy, but sometime you will all turn over. So I think that's very important that that's established here, that people don't want cameras on their home and in their backyard.
Mrs. Harper?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So just so the board is aware with the policies, unless we're having an open dialogue, like an open forum, so when you have the public makes their request and then we respond, this is not a
I
dialogue.
understand. I get it. I get it.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
It's
I
not
get it.
just for you, it's for the whole board, so let's not
Okay.
get into the practice because you'll be here for a long time, but just
Yeah,
let you
sure.
know, they'll ask and then you just respond, okay? And then they have 5 minutes, so you violate other people's rights. Is anyone else?
Yes.
Okay,
Antoinette Ramirez.
Mrs. Ramirez,
Hi, guys. How are you?
how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. I wanted to bring up the middle school soccer program because I'm thrilled that Bogota is trying to grow the program. I'm thrilled about middle school soccer, but there was a lack of uniforms for the kids in the middle school. They have shirts, and I believe last week Henry and I went to one of the games. It seemed like there were 3 different shirts. The coach wasn't given shorts for the kids or socks. And that was pretty disappointing because to me, the program starts there, middle school. And then those are the kids you want to be your varsity kids eventually. And it really makes them feel bad that, a lot of them don't have, not everyone played soccer and not everyone has the black shorts or the socks, and they were only given shirts. So just something to think about, for next year, please. I mean, my son will be in the high school part by that point, but for other kids, if you could please consider making sure that they have uniforms for them for next year.
All right, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll look further into it.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, so no one else? So I do I have a motion to close citizen remarks?
Motion.
Oh, okay, hold on. Mrs. Alvarez and Jose Chavez, is that fair? For a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, guys, we gotta go into executive session. Does Ms. Alvarez have a link?
Ms. Alvarez, use the Google Calendar invite that you were on before.
So I'm gonna
Okay.
move this quickly. It's,
Okay, thank you.
whereas C.231 P and PL 1975, also known as the Sunshine Law, authorize a public body to meet in executive or private session under certain limited circumstances. And whereas said law requires the board to adopt a resolution at a public meeting before it can meet in such executive or private session, now therefore be it resolved by the Bogota Board of Education that it hereby is determined that it is necessary to meet in executive session on October 8th at approximately 7:44 PM to discuss matters involving negotiations, litigation, personnel, and that the matters discussed will be made public when confidentiality is no longer required and action pursuant to said discussion shall take place only at a public meeting. No action is being taken?
No, I don't think we're gonna take any action right after that, and it's probably only be like 15 minutes
So
or
15
so.
max,
and-
no action being taken.
Yeah, it's advice of counsel on a bid award.
Thank you. We'll be back. Oh, do I have a motion to executive session?
Motion.
Cruz. All in favor? Any opposed? All right.
The nice thing in the school.
Motion to open the public meeting?
Motion?
Do I have a motion to open the public meeting?
Motion.
Susan Cruz,
Second.
Navarro, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Chavez, Alcalde, second. Any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good evening, good night, everyone. Go have dinner.
Linner, Brinner.
Yeah, Brennan.
Brinner.